And Mr. Hounson will give us a state assessment update at this time. Right, Mr. Hounson?
As of
Yeah.
6 o'clock, the 3rd of March.
It is hard to believe that that time of year is almost here, that spring assessments are getting ready to get going. So I wanted to bring you up to date about where we are on state assessment and also look ahead at kind of where we're going here. So I've listed on the screen all of the state assessments that we'll be giving this spring and some of the acronyms that we may use during this presentation. The grade level assessments we commonly refer to as the MAP test. The end of course assessments are EOCs. We'll talk about the ACT and the ASVAB at the high school. A little bit about the access test, which we've talked about some already, is the test for ELL students on their English language acquisition. A little bit about our advanced placement or AP testing at the high school, and at the end we'll kind of look ahead to spring of next year and beyond, some of the changes that could be coming our way after this year. So first of all, on the grade level assessments, just a reminder, these are for students in all grades 3 through 8. They will take an exam in English language arts and mathematics. In addition, students in grades 5 and 8 will also take a third test in science. These are written to the Missouri Learning Standards as they currently stand, and we'll talk again at the end here how those will be changing, how those will affect assessment. It is on an online assessment platform. This is year 2 of the online assessment platform. So last year was the major transition year that we had in getting all of these on computers instead of the pencil and paper booklets that we've been using in the past. Since last year was year 1, one of the things we did was we asked all teachers to get some feedback from kids after the testing session about the change to an online test compared to pencil and paper. And while you'll never get 100% agreement, the vast majority of students said they much prefer the online computer testing to the pencil and paper version in the past. And I don't know if it's the different types of questions or just the coolness of doing it on a computer over pencil and paper, but at least that was good. And frankly, it was far easier for us as a district on shipping all the tests back and making sure all the labels are correct and everything else. So the online version they get on, they take it, they close it out, and that's it. There's no more handling of the tests or anything else. It was a stable platform as far as kids staying on and not, they've got some safeguards as far as losing connectivity. So the online platform in the pure test environment sense we like a lot. Now, I'll talk about some of the challenges it poses us here in just a little bit as we look at some of the steps we're doing now. Because of the online assessment platform, kids do have different types of questions, and we looked at some of those last year. They will have listening questions where they're wearing headphones and responding to audio text. They'll be dropping and dragging things, sorting, moving things around, all kinds of things that we couldn't do before on the pencil and paper test. So it is a different type of problem and a different type of problem solving that they're required to do, but one that they should be used to from what they're doing in their classroom. So it shouldn't be anything different. We will have a population of MAP A students, which stands for the MAP alternate students. Those are for some of the most challenged SPED students. It is a different test. It's not the same grade level test that's given to everyone else, but it is now also an online assessment as well. And it comes with its own trainings and regulations, and we just went through the training with those teachers. But those will be scheduled outside of the schedule that we're building here. I think total district, we probably have 10 to 15 kids that will be taking the MAP A throughout the district, so a little small number. Obviously, one of the hopes that we have is we get a quicker return of results because of the online assessment. That didn't really happen last year, but last year was year 1, and they had some level setting to do the first time that they gave it. So we're hoping that that improves a little bit this year. So we'll see. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit about our scheduling here, but this is kind of what it looks like. The end of course assessments, what that looks like is typically grade 9 through 12 coursework. You can see the tests that we give in each subject area. The ones with asterisks are required for students to take before they graduate. They are also written to the Missouri Learning Standards. They are also an online assessment, but those have been online for several years, so that's not new. And those results we get back within 5 days of closing our testing window. So we do schedule that so that we get results back prior to the end of the school year. The EOC exams do count on the students' grade in the course that they're taking. Typically, they will count for the same as a regular test, but they are factored into their end of year grade. So those will be scheduled such that we can get results back in time to include those.
But something else would be a little bit easier to administer once the ninth grade's at the high school,
That's correct.
I imagine.
Some of the tests that each building gives, that both buildings give, I should say, that we are required to put them in the same testing window, which when the junior high is dealing with all of the grade level tests at the 8th grade and then the EOCs, while the high school is trying to schedule EOCs around all of the AP testing, sometimes those schedules bump and they don't fit nicely. So when they're all together, 9 through 12, that will be much better. Yeah. So as far as preparation, what we're kind of doing right now, since it's online, again, one of the challenges is identifying enough devices and slots to get all of the scheduling done and making sure that we use good devices. We do not do any testing on iPads. We found that not to be as stable and not as student-friendly of a device to use. We test everything we can on desktops and on some of the larger laptops. We'll also be expanding out to Chromebooks this year, which some early testing we've done on those has been very favorable. Those have worked out really well. So identifying all devices in all of the buildings. Scheduling is kind of the largest part. You know, for each student that goes through and takes the testing, the time that it takes a single student is not really overwhelming for them. It's not an overwhelming amount of testing. It would range in between 3 or 4 hours for most to 7 or 8 for those that have to take all 3 of the assessments at the 2 grade levels. So spread out over several days. That's not overwhelming. But scheduling over 4,000 of them in the elementaries, middle school, and junior high, that is a challenge for us just for the amount of devices we have and making it all work. So I've got a counselor sitting here that would be happy to answer any questions about the specifics of scheduling, and a student here too that we may talk to a little bit about testing environment when we're done. But that is what buildings are doing now, is going through and building all the schedules to make sure everything works. In the elementaries, we're only testing 3rd and 4th grade students, so only 2 grade levels and only 2 tests. So scheduling isn't as challenging there. They will probably not test until the 3rd or 4th week of April when we come back from spring break. The middle school with 3 full grades of kids and with 1 grade taking 3 tests, and the junior high with grade level tests and EOC and a full 8th grade suite of tests, they have to start testing a little sooner than the elementaries just to have enough computer lab spots and laptop cart spots to get it all scheduled. So they will start probably a week after we return from spring break and be testing pretty much the month of April, nonstop, at least somewhere. So the scheduling is what we're working on now. The CSD day tomorrow, a lot of the buildings will be doing some of the teacher training on the security, test security, and district policies that go there. I've taken care of training all of the school test coordinators and the principals. They're going out tomorrow now to train all the teachers and make sure we understand all the policies and practices and how it all works. We have students doing a little bit of, we have practice tests. At our last CSD day, we shared a screencast about resources the state of Missouri provides just to get kids used to the platform. It's not really content practice. It's not designed to fill any content holes. But they do have practice tests so that kids can get on and get used to working with the tools and how to drag and drop and how to graph a line and how to build a bar graph to make sure that that isn't a challenge for them when they take it for real. Our common assessments that we give all throughout the district are online. They were built with enhanced technology types to make sure that students are used to that and as a good way to assess student learning. So again, these tests shouldn't be any different. They will be prepared. Along with it comes some communication that we will be doing. Communication to students, communication to parents, communications inside the district, and making sure that we have everything covered. The main thing we want to communicate is that these are not tests to lose sleep over or get stressed over or to get worked up about. We want kids to come relaxed, confident, they're well prepared. Teachers have done a good job covering the material in their classroom, and there's no reason to let this be a traumatic experience for them, okay? Each kid, as I said, the assessment is not an overwhelming amount of time per student. And so some of the letters that we'll send home are just some tips, common tips about getting enough sleep, eating a good breakfast, and being relaxed and confident without anxiety. So those some of the things that we'll be communicating out. So those two are the biggies, grade level tests and EOCs. That's what will take by far most of our time, effort, and attention. Some of the others, though, the state of Missouri started last year offering the ACT to all juniors. That will continue this year. We are also offering the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. That's to all sophomores. We will do both of those on the same day at Rolla High School. The common testing date is Tuesday, April 19th. So we will have the building shut down that day for testing. And I'm sure the staff will have activities for the seniors again, just like they did last year. But those are pencil and paper. We had the option of testing that online this year. Quite frankly, adding in all of the juniors onto the ACT on devices was more than we thought we could handle. And so we stayed with the pencil and paper version for that. Access for ELLs. We have just finished all of the ELL testing. English Language Acquisition Assessment, speaking, listening, reading, and writing are the subsections. It is also now online, as everything else seems to be. This was the first year that we did online assessments, so we did a lot of learning again. Now the platform was the same as our MAP test, so there was some familiarity there. We assessed 154 students across the district. 116 of them were at the elementary. This testing is a challenge for us. I was speaking with Mr. Henshaw about looking at how we do this because we have our 2 ELL staff members take care of the testing. It's their students. The bad part about that is when they're doing this testing, we're not getting as many classroom visits and working with kids as much. And when it was pencil and paper version, we seemed to manage it a little better. This scheduling, again, pulled them away just a little more. So we'll be looking at that for next year to see if there's something different that we can do. But all of that is done. That is finished, and we'll be getting results back here toward the end of the year. Wanted to mention we also do advanced placement testing at the high school for our specific AP courses. For that, that's run by AP guidelines and regulations, and they set the dates for us. So that's just a little scheduling thing to make sure we're not scheduling end-of-course assessments on top of AP testing and everything at the same time. So it's just making sure it all works. The testing dates for AP for various classes, they range between May 2nd and May 9th toward the end of the school year. Now, that's everything this year. That's it. That's all we're testing, so not much. But looking ahead here, the department sent out a memo just this week and indicated that the tests for 2016 and 2015 should not be compared because last year was a baseline year and some other stuff. Now, I'm not quite sure on that. It's the same platform. It's the same standard. So I'm going to get some clarification on exactly what that means. But remember, last year was the first year of an entirely new assessment, written to new standards. It was a completely different test than what had been before. Now, in the memo, it did say that 2016 and 17 would be comparable. Where we're headed here. So, as you know, the state board is looking at adopting a new set of Missouri standards, possibly as early as the upcoming board meeting in March. So if those are approved, come spring of 2017, next year, they want some lag time, one, for schools to transition to the new standards, and two, time to write a new assessment to these new standards, which don't exist yet. So spring of 2017 will still be written to the current standards we're testing this year. Spring of 2018, we will now change the test again, written to the new standards. So that will be another baseline year of starting over again. Now this is the plan. I want to stress, this is the plan as we stand today. So we'll stay tuned for further developments. So 15, 16, 17, we should take tests written to the current standards. Spring of 2018, we'll have new ones.
Not comparable.
They say they're not comparable, so I'm
But they are.
not sure I understand that. But, so that's what, so next year this time, we shouldn't be going through a huge transition again. It should be the final year of the assessment written to these standards. And then we'll be looking to switch over the instruction in our classroom for 2017-18 as we're changing everything else in the district too. So it should fit fine.
Do you have any idea what the nature of the changes will be between the old learning standards and the new one?
So in English and math, I would say the standards are probably not overwhelming. The consensus seems to be that maybe these new standards in spots are perhaps a step back in rigor to what we're doing now. Remember now what we have is the Missouri Learning Standards, also known as the Common Core State Standards, which were not overwhelmingly received.
Yeah.
So a group in the state, then the groups of parents, educators, teachers, administrators work to write the new standards. The problem was there was no communication between the people writing the K-6 ELA standards, or the K-5, and the 612 ELA standards. They're two separate groups. They weren't subgroups of the same overall group. So the approach that K-6 took and the approach that 712 took could be very different. So at times they're a bit disjointed. DESE has done some work to bring the formats at least together to a single format. So K-12 looks the same, which is nice. Some common language, and there's an open comment period now about the new standards, and I've sent in comments that we have, concerns that we have, strengths that we see, both positive and negative. Social studies was very similar, other than it moved some of the grade levels around, specifically Missouri history out of 4th grade and down into 3rd, which we have some concerns about kids developmentally ready to maybe do all of that.
Wow.
Science was very different. Science was written more at a very high level. In fact, some concern that every activity is a depth of knowledge 3, where they're modeling everything and building models and creating systems to demonstrate their knowledge, which is all good.
You gotta get there.
But maybe we would have liked to seen more straightforward content to build the foundation to do the very high level things that are being asked. I think science will be a challenge. I think the other math and English will be similar. Social studies, just that one major change is going to be a challenge for us. So we've submitted comments, and we'll see what.
So the science concern could still be modified before it matters.
But the board meeting.
The majority of the comments that we sent in, I sent in, however you, as a district representative, were about the science standards. And both some things that seem to be some foundational items that seem to be skimmed over fairly quickly, that maybe more time could be spent on, and less time on some of the grandiose modeling and building and very high DOK stuff constantly. And that was, obviously,
We'll
that
hear
was
some of that.
feedback from our science teachers, K-12, especially the high school science people spent a lot of time looking at it. So I appreciate their feedback because I would have needed it.
Wow.
So, the plan is to offer the spring 2017 ACT again, and that's a state of Missouri decision, although in the memo we received this week, they said budget, that is if budget will allow. So I think the plan is to do it, but they stopped short of saying that it's already been approved. That will be a budget concern. We would like them to continue it, we hope they do, and expect them to, but can't say for sure that we will yet. Okay, that's a lot on assessment. I'd take any questions or comments, and again, I would also direct any questions or comments. We have a counselor, Jeremy Jameson from the junior high, that has worked with both the grade level assessments and end of course tests, which are very different. Mr. Pettyjohn, would be happy to hear your thoughts on online assessment and pencil and paper and how it all works. And but it's all coming up. It'll be here fast. It will go smooth. It will go well. But it's a lot of preparation beforehand to make sure all that happens.
What would you estimate the cost to the district if we did the ACT? Not that I'm suggesting we do, but I think there's some value in doing that for all kids.
It's good. I don't know that. That's certainly something we could check into.
Just be curious.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we don't have to go down that
Yeah,
road, but,
I think they certainly want to do it, and I would expect to do it. And
we talked about that before, that we found, when all kids took it, we found kids that probably wouldn't have taken the ACT
Yeah.
did really well.
Better than
It
they
opened
expected.
some opportunities for them, so.
I think that's the real value is, we
think
had
that's the real
about,
value,
typically we
too.
would have about 2/3 of our
Right.
graduates take it. But now we have the extra third getting that opportunity.
And how
and I
many
think
of those
that's,
kids see an opportunity to
Yeah.
go to a 2-year or 4-year school that maybe they didn't?
yeah, I think it's a real positive. I hope we continue.
Talk to our friendly state legislature about that.
How are the students and parents informed about the upcoming ACT date? Has it been put out there for them and?
Yeah, Josh Smith has been organizing, he's been the lead man at the high school as far as organizing it and communicating. So all that will come out. Now, April 18th, we haven't started communicating a lot yet. But Josh and all the high school staff, Mr. Smith, will take care of all that. We'll have an official map letter that will go home with all kids explaining the map test with some, again, helpful hints and scheduling and that kind of thing. So I will create that and then send it home for all the map and EOC testing.
I know it's just still a new thing that we're doing, so I don't know that everybody is aware that the juniors all take it.
They probably text it and all that
Year
stuff
two.
too.
Yep, year 2. Okay. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.